The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of RaceSpotTV Friday primetime, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. We are just about go for round number 5, this time at Zandvoort, the Dutch track nestled amongst the sand dunes, very, very close to the water's edge. There's the track information up on screen for you now. The sun is low in the sky, the track temperature is only looking like it's going to be 29 degrees with 27 in the air. But I am Conor Maddock, and joining me for the call this evening, as always, is going to be Mr. Will Vincent. And Will, this track, some could say, is pretty close to your heart. Yeah, exactly. Lots and lots of high to medium to high speed corners. The undulations in the track elevation just make this track an absolute roller coaster to drive. And speaking of roller coasters, this is going to be a roller coaster qualifying laps for all of you guys out there. They're just getting themselves up onto the board as we speak, with a couple of minutes left in qualifying. Martin van Loozen on provisional pole position with a 1:18.887. That is about a tenth of a second faster than what is going to be Morgan Morand at the front there, towards the front of that particular grid. As we will we will start to see this qualifying, get itself towards its closing stages. Well, what are we expecting from racing and sort of action that you can get at this racetrack? Yep, you really have to look towards that section of racetrack to try and get your passes completed. As on the live pictures right now, you do have Stephen Gatesman, provisional pole position. Ignore what I said earlier. There's been a little bit of an issue here, but we will get that one sorted out hopefully in just a couple of moments, unless we were just going to go with this broadcast instead. But 1 minute left in qualifying then. Not a lot of opportunities for anyone to sort of improve on their lap time. Everyone gets their lap times done very early on in the session here, and as of right now it's just going to be the way things are. But well, I don't know what's you know, this is one of the races where I don't know what to expect from the racing that we're going to have, because at least in split number 1 we've got Martin van Loosnord as pole position, we've got Morgan Morand P number 2. But everyone else, that is a huge melting pot of issues right behind. Yep, you really do, as the gridding procedure will go through here as we get ourselves all sorted out here in the RaceSpotTV commentary booth. We'll be getting the top split race sorted. Sorry for the couple of issues that we just had there, but we are not too far away from getting the racing action up on screen for you in just a couple of moments' time. But the qualifying grid goes like this: Martin van Loosnord, Morgan Morand, Danny Garcia Fillol, Matthew Prudhomme, Tony Reprizard. That brings things down to P number 5 on your starting grid, with Victor Prato P number 6, Matteo Calistani 7th, with Dave Walsh 8th, Ruslan Sabatov and Lubomir Moric rounding out your top 10 positions. Then you look further back to the back half of the field: Stefan Hermann, Fernando Guerrero, Claudio Candio, Torben Feiler, Siesta Bosma, Joshua Jabolinski, Stefan Chantal, David Saranzo, John McJutchinson, and Scott McIntyre, bringing things down to P number 20, and Martin Arnoldus, P number 21. If you're going to keep an eye on a driver, that driver that's currently in last position on the grid is definitely a very good candidate. Arnoldus can very much make positions up early on, but the gridding procedure is done. The engines will start to rev, and we will go here at Zandvoort. Van Loosnord immediately across to try and cover off the move for Morgan Morand, as Morand has to try and sends for an outside move, but falls straight back in line to try and challenge another day. Side by side for P number 3 though, Garcia Filo versus Matthew Prudhomme. Prudhomme will make his way through, and Filo will then come under threat from Tony Reprizard behind. So that is all done at the front of this sector. Oh, that's a huge pile up. That's in turn number 3, right at the back half of your field. Oh my word, we're going to have to get another look at this one.
Yeah, this is down into turn number 3 for the first time. And the thing is, Connery, is that it's the tightest corner racetrack. And there you see the number 10 car just turned around. As a consequence, 4 drivers there just blocked on the racetrack. And that all started with Stefan Hermann in that number 10 machine. He got himself back going. But that's the thing about this racetrack, is it is so narrow.
It is very narrow, and if there's one car that's just spread eagle across the racetrack, then that's going to be very hard for other drivers behind to avoid. That original incident caused by Ruslan Sabatov running into the back of Stefan Hermann, spinning him right in the middle of the track, and it was just a job for all of the other drivers behind to try to avoid the stranded car in the middle of the racetrack. But the first lap will be in the books here, and there's a movement going on coming down down in towards turn number 1. That's Sabatov versus Candio. So Candio on the inside and will look to gain the position. He will gain the position over Ruslan Sabatov back. So that is battling just inside of your top 10. But riding on board with Claudio Candio right now as he works his way through towards the end of that first sector, just looking right from the back of his car right now. Sabatov might even just come under threat from Buesma behind, but the number 15 driver in that red car right in the middle of the trio behind, he's trying to sense this opportunity, but the doors are opening, but he's not slipping himself through.
And that's the thing about RaceSpot and actually racing here at the Zandvoort race circuit, because it is so narrow, Connery. We talked about that already. Through the exit Tarzan box, all the way through to the exit of Hugenholz box, turn number 3, Hugenholz corner, if you wanted to call it that. It is pretty much single file, all the way up the hill, down the hill, through Renault corner, through Vodafone corner, until you get to the Audi S. This is a track that's been run in the RS World Championship Grand Prix Series. Many people like it, but they only seem to like it if they are in a position where they can overtake. And it's actually Jablonski there is trying to do so right now over the number 15 car.
He is inside line for turn number 1. Isn't always beneficial here at this racetrack, but it seems to be certainly powerful for Jabolinski on the inside there, able to gain the position over Buesma. So Buesma, you know, he's had a good start so far, but losing that position certainly puts a damper on things. He's still up a good couple of positions over his qualifying in 15th place, up 3 positions to be exact, and he might even be dropping back even further here. But Jabolinski ahead, looking to make the moves early on. P number 16 starter looking to get himself inside the top 10 within the first couple of laps, but into the middle sort of sector they will go, through Renault and through Vodafone as well. Jabolinski taking the ultra-wide line, coming up through Vodafone, looking for that mid-corner and exit speed over Sabatov, and it looks like he's going to get it with the help of the DRS down towards Audi as well. Outside line becomes the inside for here, but no commitment around the outside to make it work.
Yeah, let's talk about the overtakes here, Connor, because they only have a limited number that they can use there. It's not like Formula 1 DRS, they can use it every single lap. It's more like IndyCar, when they have to do so only a certain number of times. And here we see again, side by side, all the way towards Tarzan corner. Mighty close between the 2 drivers. Slipping into the inside then will be the driver in the green machine that we see. That is Sabatov there, but he could not get that position back.
Simply not possible down into that section, at least if your name is Ruslan Sabatov. And now Buesma behind might just be smelling blood in the water, as Sabatov is struggling to hold position inside of that top 10 and drops out of it down to P number 11, may even be P number 12 by the time Buesma is done with him, down through turn number 6, turn number 7 as well, and then into the Renault and Vodafone complex right in the middle of the lap. But it's particularly tricky to try and negotiate itself a pass coming through this section. The track is wide and inviting on this portion of the racetrack, but that doesn't mean that it's suitable for side-by-side racing. But this section very much is coming up. Audi S coming into it. You can sling yourself down the inside, and that is what Stefan Chantal was thinking as we're riding on board with the Canadian driver. But the move inside, the move outside there just requires 100% commitment. You can't just be caught in 2 minds about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's also a 1 minute 20 lap time around this racetrack, Connery. So the drivers don't have many opportunities. We see there the battle is still going on. 12-13, move around the outside there, and Sabatov makes the position. And actually, I say that back. It is Brunside there making the position over Chantal. That's the position going on. 12, 13, 14th on track, but out front, it's worth noting that Morand has a 1.3 second deficit right now, Connery, to your race leader. That's in the first 5 laps of this motor race.
It is. Van Loosenord able to get 1.2 second gap over his rival of Morgan Morans. Absolutely fantastic stuff for what is basically the home track for Martin Van Loosenord, being from the Benelux club, of course. So This is perhaps one of the strongest tracks on the calendar for him, you would have thought. So not sure if there's much that Morgan Morans can do about this. He did set a lap time about a half a tenth of a second faster last time by, but you need more than half a tenth if you're going to catch a driver the caliber of Martin van Loosenhout. He makes another gain on this lap. That's more like a tenth of a second, so more like it for Moran, but he needs more.
He does indeed, as we're looking at that battle right now going on for your race lead, Conway. And the thing that I noticed is that Murat is okay in the middle section of the racetrack, but he's losing it realistically in sections number 1 and sections number 3. So I see battles going on actually far behind him. We've actually got a car turn around. That is Dan Walsh in the number 21 machine from Club UK and Ireland. Let's get a replay out, Conway, because Dan Walsh now down to 8th place, and he looks as though he lost that all by himself there. No drives yet, lost it all by himself there on the exit of Tarzan corner, turn number 5.
Yeah, that's going to be the Hugenholtz corner. Coming out of there, just trying to get the power down. Cass just wasn't having any of it, decides to swap ends instead, and that's going to put Dave Walsh back a good couple of positions. He's been put back into 9th after running MP number 7 before that incident happened. But riding on board right now with Victor Preto for the Champs iRacing team, trying to chase down Tony Repuzard up ahead, and Preto gained on the last lap about a tenth of a second. What does he do on this one? It's a 1:21.074 compared to a 0.57 from Tony Repuzard. So absolutely deadlocked between these two drivers on that last lap. So it might just be a case here of trying to figure out a sort of strategy with DRS to bring himself closer, and then maybe use another one to try and get himself past. But that's the whole game sometimes in these Formula Renault 3.5s. It's the whole strategic use of those DRSs. And a track like this, where you have a very, very, very long pit straight, that is going to be an issue if you don't have them.
Yeah, if I was allowed to make jokes about the UK and the European referendum, I would say that would almost be a bit of a backstop going on right now with those two drivers. But yeah, I'm allowed to do so for the time being. But I will say there are still battles going on behind them as well. And this is a track here that, Connery, does make drivers have to work for every opportunity. And we've seen it already in your top 4. We've seen it already in your top 10 of roller drivers. Victor Preto right now, for example, as we talked about, you know, he lost a little bit last time around, a little bit faster last time around. As he comes across the start-finish line, it's going to be a lap time of a 1:20.855 for Victor Preto. He was faster than Tony Repuzard, however, still got work to do in order to get past.
Yep, that is the age-old saying. But through the first sector they will go. Tony Repuzard looking a little bit sketchy through here as we have side-by-side coming down the pit straight there. That's Arnoldus versus Sabatov, and I mentioned it at the top of the show, Will, that Arnoldus is one of the ones to watch. Starting right at the back, he'll take the battle still side-by-side, coming through the next couple of corners, turns 2, turns 3, and then up the hill once again. We'll get the replay up on screen for you now as you see Arnoldus on that left-hand side, able to make that outside line around turn number 1 work because of that corner being slightly on camber. Yeah,
and for Sabatov then up into 12th position, was able to get that move done for the time being, and then actually lost it afterwards because you can see that Arnoldus was able to just pull away by about 4 tenths of a second, but still he has himself a driver behind. That is John Murchison from Club UK and Ireland. And one thing I actually like about this Friday Night Prime Time, Connery, is that we see a lot of different clubs represented. Of course, the Club UK and Ireland Open Wheels is almost their second coming. They've got Monday Night Skippies every Monday night here on RaceSpotTV. But they're also a team that likes these kind of like lower power, high downforce cars.
Yeah, that's what the name of the game is, but Hutchinson then side by side with Sabatov down the pit straight. That was a little bit of a late move coming off the corner, but here comes Sabatov back with the dive down the inside of turn number 1. He's not giving up without a fight, and he retains position as well. That was fantastically defended there from Sabatov. Firm, but very fair.
Yeah, and he's got the move then down into Hook and Hulk's corner. Now it's going to be single file corner as they go through 4, 5, and 6.
It is. This is not a section where you can really make it side by side, but Hutchinson proving me wrong with the overtake coming through turn number 6. Fantastic stuff there by the British driver. We'll get the replay up on screen for you now because he proved me wrong in about a 1/10 of a second there, Will.
Here's a replay. Outside, inside move. That is a bold move there in turn 6. Shivlak there. But Connor, he managed somehow to make it stick. And actually, that's one of the best moves I've seen in turn 6 in a very long time.
Just awesome stuff from a driver that I personally have never seen on the broadcast before. So if this is one of your broadcast debuts, John McHutchinson, then very, very well done for making an absolutely stellar overtake into turn number 6. But in terms of the other battles that we do have out there on circuit, we're currently riding on board with Danny Garcia-Fillol as he does try to chase down Matthew Prudhomme, but Prudhomme has just, been managing this gap over the past couple of laps. The advantages aren't really switching more towards one way more than the other. So Prudhomme is just doing what he needs to do right now. It's just a case of whether Fillol has something in this second half of the race to try and get himself onto that final step on the podium. But a battle that might just be a thing, though, is the battle for the race lead, because it is within a second. It's getting towards 0.8 of a second in reality, and Morgan Moran now, he's going to be on the charge. He's got the carrot on the stick in front of him in form of Lusenord.
Indeed he does. Lap times to come past start finish on last time by lap number 10 of 25. Moran was 9/1000ths of a second slower than Van Lusenhoorn. However, the gap between the two of them here, Connery, they are negligible at best. It's the sort of thing you and I, of course, both researchers at universities, will look at these gaps and say, okay, they're almost non-existent. However, for Moran, he's got to find a way of managing to work that car for the dirty air at a track that really is difficult to overtake at.
The medium to high-speed corners certainly don't help with the dirty air. Of course, it isn't an absolutely huge factor in these cars, but it is something you really have to think about, and it makes overtaking a little bit more complex here as they head their way down into the Audi S, one of the overtaking opportunities at this track. Moran still trying to make some inroads here, but he's not exactly being successful as that gap dips above a second once again. So Moran, he still has a decent chunk of time to work with here, so not all his losses. It goes up to 1.1 seconds by the time he makes it out of the final corner. So not the greatest of laps there from Moran to try and chase down your race leader, but battles further behind though. We're right on board with Victor Prater right now, who is within a second of Tony Repuzard. So that could be a coming together in just a couple of moments. But again, it's a similar situation to what is going on at the front of the field. You see on those last two laps, just very, very marginal gaps going either way.
Yeah, Victor Prater was technically faster last time by. Got himself within 14/1000ths of a second faster than Tony Repuzard. But realistically, Connery, that's nothing. And actually, Victor Prater has to do the same thing right now as Moran and actually find inroads in the middle sector of this racetrack, although Repuzard is faster than sector number 1 and sector number 2 compared to Victor Prater.
He is, and that's for Victor Prater to try to figure out how he approaches the race in terms of catching Repuzard here, based on his strengths as a driver and how the car is feeling at the particular sections of the racetrack. But again, that gap is just looking to creep up and up and up a little bit by bit. But through the final sector is where Preto has been particularly strong, so he can make some time back all the way through here, but he's going to have to work at it for a good couple of laps yet before he gets himself an opportunity to look for an overtake. But there's a battle just happening, or getting close, excuse me, just inside of your top 10. This is Joshua Jabelinski versus Dave Walsh, and we mentioned Dave Walsh a little bit earlier, well, with his little spin coming out of turn number 3, but you know, apart from that, he's been running relatively okay, but Jabelinski definitely closing in at this stage, a couple of tenths of a second last time.
Yeah, indeed, sir. And it's actually the thing here, Connor. We're not looking necessarily at who is going to be the best in this race, but more about the R rating that's available. Now, if you look at the Dave Walsh, he's number 21 in the field. That means he's got the 21st R rating in terms of the field here today, which comprises of 21 drivers. Jabelinski, he's the 16th driver, so he's got the 16th best I rating. So Jabelinski's looking to try and get as many opportunities as he can to keep his I rating up as high as possible. As it stands right now, both would gain I rating, but Jabelinski has more work to do.
Yep, exactly. By virtue of being the lower assigned number on the grid, the higher up the finishing order you have to finish to, you know, I guess keep your R rating, or at least go positive in terms of your R rating gain / loss right at the end of the race. But Jabelinski, fantastic through the final corner. DRS going to be wide open, judging by the closing speed and the draft as well, but not gonna be in a position to sling one down the inside just yet. You see,
but
4.5 tenths of a second.
You're right,
yeah.
4.5 tenths of a second that last time by. And Jabelinski, you're right, he doesn't need to be in the top 5 to gain I rating here, Conley, but what he does need to be is in the middle part of the field. So for Jabelinski, this is what we call the career mode of I rating. You're not going to gain hundreds of I rating every time you do a race, but it's a case of finishing in the top 10, top 5, and just building up that I rating race per race per race.
Ooh, Jabelinski, a little bit of a moment coming up through towards the towards Marlborough corner, just taking a little bit too much out of the entry there, just going over the grass. And that's one of the other things about this racetrack, not much runoff, if any, and it's immediately grass or gravel once you get yourself off of the racing circuit. But Jabelinski will make all of that time back that he lost coming up towards turn number 7, because I suppose we do, you know, it's sad that we don't have the telemetry proof of this, but that was maybe a burst of DRS coming down towards the Audi S.
It was indeed, actually. Just to give you an update on what we're talking about, the I rating for Jabelinski is actually 4,127 coming into this race. It's 3,002 for Dave Walsh, and actually, that's a big difference. And we talk about the Porsche Pro qualifying series, Conway. Well, the I rating is 7,500 to make the dance. We're not saying Jabelinski's a bad driver. We're not saying anyone in this race is a bad driver, but it's that career move, working up race by race by race to get to the big dance.
Yeah, you know, you see all of these drivers in the top series of iRacing, and what you don't see is how many years in just the standard official series that a lot of them have done. It's incredible to go to some of these pro drivers pages and just follow their progress in their iRating graph, and you can just see, oh, they were 4K for a while, and then, you know, gradually 5K, 6K, and then you can just see the steady development. And that is the case for most of them, unless they're completely alien and already fast coming onto iRacing for the first time anyway. Yeah,
Indeed, so actually having a look at the top 8 in the field right now, Van Loozenhoorn has a 1.2 second advantage over Morand. Then Matteo Morand is actually, get this, Conway, 6.5 seconds back from your top 2 right now. So it does show the difference in terms of your top 2 drivers and everyone else in the field right now, because Van Loozenhoorn has a big advantage, but Morand has also got that big gap out now to Matteo Morand.
Yeah, Matthew Prudhomme there, MP number 3. Is, you know, pronunciation is sometimes difficult, but Morgan Morans, you're exactly right though, Will. P number 1, P number 2, kind of just outclassing this field at this moment in time, just showing there is a whole another level that they can compete on. But there's a little bit of battling further back as Sabatov is dropping through the field once again. It's sad to say, and actually this time it was contact coming through turn number 1 with the number 20 machine. That was Torben Fieler that gets punted towards the outside of turn number 1. So it was a fantastic qualifying for the driver of the number 12, Ruslan Sabatov, getting himself into P number 9, solidly inside that top 10, but the race pace doesn't seem to be there at all.
No, and that's going to be a big disappointment there to the Positive Sim Racing. University of Isabella, 1 machine, and Positive Sim Racing, of course, are so prominent on the RaceSpotTV broadcast, Connie, because we see them in Sunlight Skip Each, we see them, of course, on Friday Night Pro Time, on the Endurance Series, of course, the 24 Hours of Daytona coming up soon here on RaceSpotTV, and that's a team that are looking to do very well, arguably looking for a top 5 in class.
That would certainly be the aim for them. Although I bet they would have hoped that it was, instead of Daytona prototypes, it would have been LMP1 cars, because they have been particularly quick in those machines. But sadly, IMSA, no LMP1 cars to be seen. You just have to deal with Daytona prototypes. But Sabatov will have to go defensive here as we're riding on board with him, because Fieler is looking again, in towards turn number 1, but simply not able to make that move work just yet. And Fieler, now you have to be thinking that he's got to be driving this one a little cautious, because he's already been punted towards the outside once by Sabatov. Yeah,
and the incident rating comes into play here as well. Of course, you get so many incident points, and all of a sudden, your race is over, Connery. And that's a big thing for these drivers as well, because, yes, you can be an aggressive driver, but if you get the incident points, then you end up at the back of the field because of the fact that you have gone over what iRacing classifies as the safe limit for a racing driver.
Yeah, usually in these iRacing official series, it is 17 instant points before the system decides to disqualify you from the race. And some tracks is a little bit easier to keep under that limit than others. Of course, you have the very, very famous case of Spa-Francorchamps, where if you step 1 foot out, even slightly out of the line, then it's going to nick you with a 1x. But the thing is, here the track limits are in a way self-punishing, because you have the grass so close to the white line. But here comes Fieler then down in towards turn number 1. We also have the battle of Tony Represard to be concerned about, as well, as we're right on the back of Represard right now, being chased down by what is going to be the car of Victor Preto. So Preto, fantastic last couple of laps, able to edge that gap back in, and now he's in a position to pounce. Yeah, and Tony Represard right now is 3rd place in the overall championship. Oh! As Tony Represard goes wide, this is going to be a big incident for Tony Represard, and he gets himself into the runoff area. That is thankful for him there, but that's an Ari Lindike corner. Replay is going to come up there, Conway, but Tony Represard, commentator's curse, no, because he did that all by himself there. But Tony Represard, 3rd place in the championship right now. Victor Preto in 2nd, Rico Atalo in 1st, but Represard just got onto the curb, onto the gravel, and pushed off wide, now down into P number 6. What was I saying just moments before that happened? With the grass, with the gravel being so close to the racetrack, the off-tracks are self-punishing at classic circuits such as these. And, I think that's the way probably everyone would prefer to have it, despite the safety issues on the real-life side of things. But in a simulated world, then that issue is somewhat reduced. But as we do have about 7 laps to go here, Prudhomme versus Fiol this time. The battle for the last podium position, that one is starting to look pretty hot at this stage. Prudhomme trying to edge out the gap, did by a couple of tenths of a second on that last lap. But this isn't over, because Fiol, he's going to be looking, he's not even keeping fully within the slipstream coming down the pit straight there, which is one of the annoying things that I see some drivers do. If you're following behind the car coming down the straight, just get fully behind them. Don't be half in, half out, and lose a good amount of the draft.
Yeah, and also it's worth remembering, of course, Conway, that Zandvoort is looking to become a Formula 1 track in 2020. Now, again, this is my favourite track in all of motorsports. And the last thing I want to see to this track is to take all the gravel away and put off runoff areas, because Circuit of the Americas, yes, it's a good track, but the kind of tarmac runoff areas make it into a track that sterilizes it a little bit. This is a track that is not sterilized, and the last thing I want to do is the FIA to go and say, if you want an F1 race, get rid of the kind of like the runoff areas, because it makes no sense at all, especially into the LDS where the two drivers coming in right now, Pomard in the number 4 machine and Philo in the number 9.
Yeah, exactly. They'll get themselves through that particular section. But you see on the lap time deltas getting close to half a second being taken out by Phil on that last lap. I don't think it's going to be quite as much as they had their way across the line this time, but Phil trying to size himself up for a move coming into the final few laps of this event. They crossed the line with 5 to go, and 5 is definitely enough for Phil to even just have at least one chance here if he's able to get onto that rear wing. Yeah, and this is the best battle that actually got inside your top 10 as well. So Philo, of course, Club Iberia, and we often talk about this. There's no love lost between the clubs as well. Even though they don't get points for club as they used to in the initial iteration of iRacing, there is still the club that really makes a big difference here, Connery. Because, of course, the iRacing World Championship has won between Club Diat or Club Finland only. France has never won it. Benelux has never won it. Club Beacon Island have never won it. But beating an opponent who's from an opposing club still holds some big value to you. It does hold some big value to some, as Phil, he'll be more concerned about getting onto the podium than any potential club points at this stage. But up through towards the final 2 corners now, these very, very fast right-handers, where the last one you can go pretty much flat out in these cars and carry that speed all the way down the pit straight, getting up to what's going to be around about 270, well, struggling to get to 270 kilometers an hour in the draft before you hit the brakes in towards turn number 1. But Phil now, he's getting there. You can just see that gap, even visually, just starting to close in and starting to become a lot more optimistic for Phil's chances at the end of this race. But is it too slow at this one? You just have to argue, you know, because at this rate, he'll only be in position to challenge on the final lap.
He's got the moves, he's got the opportunities, in my opinion. Philo, however, just needs to time it perfectly. And you talk about the fact that the final couple of corners are flat out. They're not always flat out, Connery, in race cars. However, the corner is named after Aaron Dyke, of course, as the fastest ever lap around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, he does, and you know, having the corner named after you is, you know, certainly a massive honor. Of course, we had that new addition in that respect with the Jackie X corner at Spa-Francorchamps. The no-name corner actually has a name now and was, you know, short-lived as RaceSpot corner for a month or so, but that's just one that we'll have to take.
Well deserved. Let's say Jackie X. It's well deserved him having that corner, because actually, no-name corner is always one of the most difficult corners in all the Spa-Francorchamps, and also it's the perfect resting place, Connery. I don't think you've ever been out to Spa-Francorchamps. I mean, I've done it twice now, but it is a resting place, no-name corner. But here, I mean, this track and the final sector from the LDS down to the start of finish line is all about raw speed and downforce.
It really is. It really suits these cars, and it's a real driver's track, which is what you mentioned at the start of the broadcast here today. It's one of those tracks where you can just hot lap and hot lap and hot lap and until you get tired, and you're still enjoying it even when you're completely exhausted. But for racing, it can be pretty satisfying to watch as well. But this is the only battle that you have on your screen right now that, well, not right now, but the Matthew Prudhomme and Philol battle is going to be the only battle that we have here coming into the final stages, so it's going to be a pretty major one as well as we get on towards the final 2 laps to go here. Green lap deltas last, well, I was going to say last 2 laps for Philol, but the thing is that our lap graphic does get updated and he lost time on lap number 23, so that is not what you want to be seeing if you're Philol. But the thing is, by virtue of him being so close behind, he's now just absolutely piling on the pressure to Prudhomme in front, and now it's up to Prudhomme to not make any mistakes.
Part of it here comes down to the fact that you can lose time, but have you managed to nail the apexes, and also have you got the strategy in play, because Philo may well have more DRS available for him in the last lap and a half of this event, because now there's only realistically 3 more straightaways.
There are, and if he has 3 DRS activations that he saved up over the race, then Prudhomme would be sitting very, very pretty. But Philol trying to take so much time out of him, coming through the Audi S's, and will do the same, trying to come through the final sector here as well. But if Prudhomme does have DRSs in reserve, this is where it's going to be working. But does Philol have some that he's been hiding from us as well? It does seem to be the case, as you can see that closing speed in towards turn number 1. He goes deep on the brakes even though the percentage chance of him making a move was so slim to none. We're on the final lap, the white flag lap here at Zandvoort, and Philol might have even just blown his only chance to get himself at least alongside here because of that overzealous move in towards turn number 1 last time. But there's still 2 sectors to go in this particular battle. Gap is back up to 7.5 tenths of a second, and Prudhomme was particularly slow coming through towards turn number 7 and turn number 8 as well, so Philol might just have another chance when it comes towards that Audi S section. View from up above then, as we see this battle file its way through Vodafone corner, and then that short run down towards the Audi S's. But I don't think Philol is gonna quite be close enough coming down into here, but back towards the race lead, because Martin van Loozenhoorn will take that checkered flag here in the Formula Renault 3.5 series. The win for the home track driver Van Loozenhoorn, 2.7 seconds over Morgan Morans. Philol, though, up there on that battle, not able to make anything happen through the final 2 corners, has to settle for P number 4 instead. Still a fantastic run from Philol, but the thing is, I think he just took a little bit too much out of turn number 1 on the start of that last lap, so that basically ruined any chance he would have down into the Audi S in the latter part of the lap.
Yeah, he basically said to himself that I'm going to go for it here, and he didn't have the opportunity. He underbraked himself almost there, and Philol decided that he was going to get himself 3rd place. Again, 3rd place in terms of the championship here, Connery, not a bad thing, but I think that Philol there lost himself the opportunity because of the fact that he didn't actually push it hard enough, and here at Zandvoort, you got to push it hard in Sector 1.
You really do, but with the race over and the last cars across the line, here are your official race results. Martin van Loozenhoorn wins by 2.747 seconds over the Frenchman of Morgan Morand, with Matthew Prudhomme joining his fellow countryman on the podium. Danny Garcia Philol will narrowly miss out in P number 4, with Victor Preto gaining himself P number 5. Tony Represard P6, with Kalistani finishing in 7th, with Claudio Candio 8th, Dave Walsh 9th, and Jabolinski ending up in the 10th place position. Martin Oldus, after starting right at the back of the grid, able to climb the ranks up into P number 11, with John McCutchinson P number 12, Torben Fiedler, P number 13. Then you have the first of your lap down runners, Ruslan Saratov. Not a fantastic event at all when it comes to basically the entirety of the race for him. Stefan Hermann, P number 15, after a late race issue, with Scott McIntyre and Stefan Chantal being the rest of the runners one lap down. And then you have your retirements, Sieste Boersma, David Saranzo, Fernando Guerrero, and Lumamir Moiric, right at the back of your 21 car finishing order. We'll just take a short break here on RaceSpotTV on the iRacing Esports Network, but don't go away because the post-race show comes after this.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Alfala is $10,500 richer. Two-time NASCAR pilot is your 2013 NASCAR iRacing. It's going to be Humpy winning the race, and it's going to be Conti taking away his first NASCAR
2017 NASCAR Beginner Free Series Championship to Ryan Luza. Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Beginner Free iRacing Series.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the post-race show for this edition of RaceSpotTV Friday primetime, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. As always, I am Connery Maddock, and joining me for the close of the show, it's going to be the one, the only, Will Vincent, and just a fairly intriguing race that we had here today. But the thing is, I think that first huge pileup at the sort of mid to rear of the field, coming through the first sector for the first time, really ruined a lot of drivers' races here today.
Yeah, it did. And I think that a lot of drivers are going to be really unhappy as a consequence of that one, Connery, because they didn't have the chance to really say or do what they wanted in this event. But it's a 12-week season, and we talked about the fact that some drivers have done well compared to others. Ricky Alatalo is leading the championship as it stands right now, but has not raced in Friday Night Primetime.
Yeah, he hasn't, and as a result, going to be at a little bit of a deficit in terms of the points that he can get for this week, just missing out on the strength of field race. But having a look at the calendar as it is right now, next week we're going to be heading to Donington Park, and it's not the national circuit, it's the Grand Prix circuit of Donington. So Donington, my home track technically, is the track that I live closest to. It's literally a short bus ride away from where I'm at right now, so that'll be an interesting one for me. But Donington Grand Prix circuit, though, Will, that's not what we see often.
No, yeah, in your case, it literally is the exact literal home track for you. For me, it is also the closest track as well. But one thing I would say is that it's a hard track, Donington Park. I mean, yes, I've walked around among it. I've done the Drunken Escapade, as we call it, at Download Festival. They moved the track, the festival outside of the festival, so to be, in the recent years, just to make sure that they can keep the track going. A lot of BS has gone on over the years there, but the track still exists, and I like the track there at Donington. Almost became the British Grand Prix.
Yep, it did, and I don't know, maybe in some alternate universe it is right now, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be if you're a fan of the track right now. But in terms of the other racing that we have here on RaceSpotTV on the iRacing Esports Network over this weekend, it's a busy couple of weekends, let me tell you that, because first up, we have the Raw before the 24, the preludes to the 24 hours of Daytona. 1:30 p.m. GMT tomorrow, and that's always a fun event, if there's going to be any fun event on the calendar.
It is, and actually I heard Hindi for the first time, because of course Hindi is covering the 24 hours of Dubai right now, and it's at that point when you realize, oh my word, that motorsports is back. I mean, we've had the college football playoffs, which for me is the end of the kind of college football season. But we've got, motor racing is back again. And also, Connery, this is the first time that the Raw and also the 24 Hours Daytona will be under the new dynamic weather conditions.
It brings an entirely new element to the racing, not only just for the atmosphere, but slight changes in handling for some of the cars that would be competing in that one. But that is not the only thing that we have going on Saturday. We've also got at 1:45 GMT in the afternoon, that is the Porsche Pro Qualifying Series, round number 2 from Zugba. And now that is going to be should we say that's going to be more of a club race, more of a touring car race, with how that track is laid out and how many cars and how many desperate drivers that we'll have in that event.
Qualifying is everything for that event. That's the thing that, more than anything else there, Connery, gets me, because, Scuba is a track that many people, and I mean almost everyone over the years, has come to be because of the fact they've been a sim racing driver in some ways. Yeah,
it's one of those absolutely legendary tracks in terms of racing games, sim racing, whatever you want to call it. It's a track that's very dear to many people's hearts, and we finally have it here on the iRacing service as well. And to give it a big stage like the Pro Qualifying Series, so close to it, first initially being released, is absolutely fantastic to see. But
it's also a really hard track as well, because it's not, it's not an easy track to get around. This Scuba circuit, yes, everyone's almost racing it at some point, but it's a hard track to navigate.
It's really difficult, and what better track to try to challenge what are supposed to be some of the best GT drivers on the service. So that would be a fantastic pairing. But then again on Saturday, it's very, very busy Saturday for us here at RaceSpot, but we have the Club Sport Series powered by DGFX, round number 1 at Daytona. Justin Prince and Nolan Rempel taking you through that one, and yet more endurance racing on the day after as well, because we have the Neo Endurance Series, 6 hours of Suzuka. And any endurance race at Suzuka, that will be absolutely fantastic. But the Neo Endurance Series, that series has been particularly, I guess a word I can use is spicy, in terms of the things that have gone on, in terms of the big moments, shall we say, with the likes of Thrustmaster Movano and other leaders getting themselves into a couple of problems. So will the
I was going to say acrimonious.
Go on.
I was going to say acrimonious, but the thing is that Suzuka, I mean, let's be honest, Neil Hackens, who was the league administrator, said that for many years he vetoed the track of Suzuka because of the fact that he knew that it's a very hard track to do multi-class racing of LMP1, LMP2, and GT cars involved in it. And he said that, you know what, you voted for it, so you can do it, but it's going to be fireworks, in my opinion. It's going to be fireworks all race time. And you're right there, Connery. Like some Ivano, you know, they're not on the best standing right now. They're going to have issues going into Suzuka. But, my word, it's going to be a fun broadcast to watch. Suzuka, endurance racing, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, Movano having a little bit of a better time in the Neo Endurance Series than they were in the Sports Car Open. It's
yes.
Just the way it's just the way sometimes the races go. Sometimes they fall in the favor, and sometimes they do not. But the thing is, the scariest prospect of Suzuka in an endurance race, though, is that point in the race where all three classes are lapping each other, and that happening through the S's. That's probably one of the scariest things in racing, you have to argue. Yeah,
I'll say one thing as well, Connery. Apparently, next week we're going to get a title sponsor for what used to be the Verizon IndyCar Series. Is it May yet?
Is it?
I don't know.
Let me check the number of the month.
RaceSpotTV, of course, doing the 10th annual iRacing Indy 500. That's a big thing, but a new sponsor potentially coming over to IndyCar in the next week. That could be a huge thing for them and also for iRacing as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see what develops on that front. And I know the IndyCars have, for example, been wanting their own World Championship Series. Both of us don't know whether that's going to be the case or not. It's up to iRacing to decide that. But before we delve into that topic any deeper, I think I should just close up the show here. So thank you very much for joining us here on RaceSpotTV Friday Primetime once again. I'm Connery Maddock. I've been joined by Will Vincent. Also Will Vincent on the cameras as well. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.